and member of the Senate Homeland Security Committee, Senator Roger Marshall. Senator, thank you so much for coming on here. So let's talk about Iran and what's going on here. Break it all down for us and give me the pulse inside the Senate here. There's got to be some worry that this is going to get out of control.
Right. I think that Americans get this. They see a clear distinction between the national security, the foreign policy of Donald Trump versus Joe Biden. When Donald Trump was president, we had a secure border. Our enemies feared us. And he also had financially broke Iran. They were down to just several $billion under Joe Biden. Now Iran has tens of billions of dollars able to spend on their puppets as well as their own attacks, what we're seeing right here. Meanwhile, we're having 10,000 people cross our own border, putting this nation at risk as well. So a very, very clear distinction. You have Joe Biden on one end of the spectrum and Donald Trump on the other person. Donald Trump's the person that's going to keep us safe and secure.
Senator, you wrote an article for Newsweek that came out just today, and here's the title: Joe Biden is the real threat to democracy. Now, in the article, you criticized Biden for the border and called it a national security crisis. I'd like to hear your reaction to Mayorkas not showing up today, especially when there were grieving mothers sharing their experiences there, and also to the White House saying that that these hearings are unconstitutional.
My goodness. I'm stunned that he didn't show up. Look, we need to fire Secretary Mayorkas today. We need to fire Joe Biden in 300 days. It's that simple. Let's start with Mayorkas. He's broke the law. He broke his oath. He's not enforcing the law. For all those reasons, he should be impeached. The American people are demanding an impeachment. My goodness, we're having 300 Americans die every day from fentanyl poisoning. He's lost operational control of the border. And then they parole 1.7 million people. Compared to Obama, maybe he paroled 5,000 every year. Biden is paroling about 1 million people every year. So they've broken the law, they've broken their oath. Mayorkas has to go. It's that simple.
Senator, let's pivot right now. Let's talk about the election that's going on. We had an unprecedented victory in Iowa. Former President Trump now has a tougher challenge, though, in New Hampshire. Still leading in the polls, but it's not such a major lead like we saw in Iowa, and we still see in other states. Nikki Haley, maybe in striking distance. What can you tell us about that?
Well, look, I think Iowa is a much better representation of the entire nation. What they're doing in New Hampshire, a little bit different. Democrats and independents are in those polls and going to vote as well. But we saw just dominant by President Trump in Iowa, dominating rural America. Very proud of that. Look, he's winning by 30 points, folks. He is the presumptive nominee for the Republican Party. It is time for the other candidates to put their swords away. Let President Trump focus on Joe Biden and the White House. Let's save some of our money, save some of that gunpowder to use it against Joe Biden. If you haven't noticed, President Trump has a few other things on his mind right now. Let's get him through this first process, through the primary. Let's get locked in on firing Joe Biden in 300 days.
Yeah, people have to get out there and vote. Senator, I want to turn to this because I know you're also a physician, and news broke this week that a Chinese lab had COVID mapped out 2 weeks before the outbreak, according to documents. Now, you reacted to this news on X. Here's what you said. The bombshell evidence uncovered this week that the CCP knew for weeks about the COVID-19 lab leak and hid it from the world should concern every American. The silence from Joe Biden when it comes to holding the CCP accountable for a virus that killed 1.1 million Americans is deafening. We also have been hearing, I'll say, empty testimonies from Anthony Fauci. Your reaction in hindsight to what you're learning, what you probably knew earlier than many Americans as well.
Right. So for years now, I've been saying that this virus most likely was leaked from a laboratory in Wuhan, China. I believe I could prove that in front of a jury right now if given that opportunity to do so. This is one more, stake in the coffin on this situation. That China actually 2 weeks before a brave soul released the DNA sequence for COVID, 2 weeks before that they released it, and it wasn't just anybody. This was a person that was working for EcoHealth that was funded by U.S. tax dollars. She places that on an NIH lab bank, and then the NIH, for whatever reason, deletes it. Can you believe this? You can't make this stuff up. It's almost unbelievable what they're doing. And now Fauci is over there. He over 100 times he says what he doesn't recall that specific issue right now. So right now you have Dr. Fauci backtracking, not willing to own up to his sins. Really, in many ways, Anthony Fauci is responsible for those million people that died. If he would have told President Trump what he knew, that this virus most likely was a man-made virus in a laboratory in Wuhan, that it was much more lethal than the other SARS virus, that we had given them mice and taught them how to build a protein spike that would attack human lung cells. And weeks before, we could have been working on the vaccine. I think President Trump shuts things down, keeps China, keeps anybody from coming into this country till we get some progress made on therapeutics and a vaccine. It's a sad day for America. It's even a sadder day for China, though.
Yeah, very, very well said. Senator Roger Marshall, always great having you with us on American Agenda. Hope you come back.